Arabs and Jews, Palestinians and Israelis, one homeland, two peoples, a brief history. The conflict between Arabs and Israelis has been one of the largest and most complex of the 20th century. It has led to 4 wars, thousands of deaths, and the deep involvement of the United States, Russia, Britain, France, and many other nations. But at the heart, the dispute is rooted in the strong and ancient claims of two peoples, Jews and Palestinians, and their tie to a single piece of land in the heart of the Middle East. The following video is designed to answer basic questions about the Arab-Israeli conflict. How did it start? Why has it lasted so long? What are the chances for peace? Let's begin by looking at the roots of the conflict. This conflict dates back thousands of years. Jews trace their ancestry back to the ancient Hebrew-speaking tribes of the Middle East. According to the Bible, the Hebrews established the Kingdom of Israel around 1000 BC, with Jerusalem as their capital and the site of their holy temple. But by 70 AD, the Romans had conquered the Jewish nation and destroyed the temple, leaving only the Western Wall, and forced the Jews off the land. The Jews called this period of wandering the diaspora, from the Greek word for dispersed. Although they settled in countries all over the world, for centuries afterward, Jews prayed that one day their people would be able to return to Israel. Meanwhile, Israel, which the Romans called Palestine, came under Arab control by the 9th century. The majority of the population were Muslims. Muslims, like the Jews, considered Jerusalem one of their holiest cities. For the next 10 centuries, Palestine would be ruled by Islam. In the 19th century, Jews in Europe who suffered persecution began to organize efforts to create a homeland for Jews. The movement was called Zionism, after the Hebrew word for Jerusalem. By 1910, 25,000 Jews had moved to Palestine. At first, the local Arab population lived in peace with the new Jewish settlers. But as the number of Jewish settlers increased, Arab anger and nationalism began to grow. This set the stage for the Arab-Israeli conflict. How was the modern state of Israel created? During World War I, the British captured Palestine from Turkey, which had ruled since 1517. In 1922, the League of Nations granted Britain a mandate to govern Palestine and to help Zionist settlers build a Jewish homeland. Britain ruled the rest of Palestine for 25 years, until hostilities between Jewish settlers and Arabs grew too fierce to handle. In 1947, the British handed the matter over to the United Nations. Meanwhile, thousands of Jews who had survived the Holocaust sought out Palestine for refuge. As a result of the Holocaust, world support for the creation of a Jewish homeland increased dramatically. In 1947, the UN decided to partition Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish and one Palestinian state. Middle Eastern Arab states quickly rejected the plan, insisting Palestine should become a single Arab country. Who started the conflict, the Israelis or the Arabs? Most Arabs argue that the establishment of Israel created the conflict by bringing foreign settlers into Palestine. Most Israelis believe the Arabs started the conflict by refusing to accept the creation of Israel and trying to destroy it. The day Israel declared independence, the armies of 5 Arab nations invaded. After a year of war, Israel held more territory than it had been given by the UN in the first place. What are the occupied territories? In June of 1967, Egypt and Syria suddenly mobilized their armies on Israeli borders. Fearing an attack, Israel launched a surprise attack against the Soviet-supplied air forces of Egypt and Syria. The Six-Day War would reshape the map of the Middle East. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched a preemptive strike against the Soviet-supplied air forces of Egypt and Syria and began a six-day war that would reshape the map of the Middle East and the future of the conflict. Jordan quickly joined its allies, but when the war ended on June 10th, Israel had taken control of the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank from Jordan. Israel had increased its territory threefold, including East Jerusalem, with its ancient Jewish and Muslim holy sites. The war began the occupation of over 1 million Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza.